Ah, horror, my guilty pleasure. Ever since I was a kid, I've loved the genre. It started out as a severe Stephen King fascination. I'll always remember Tim Curry's killer clown tearing off little George's arm in It. Mind you, if you're gonna stick your arm in a sewer where there's a creepy looking clown, then you kinda deserve what you get. Then I saw Jack Nicholson, here's Johnnying in The Shining. Then it was the creepiest child ever in Pet Sematary. When I was growing up, there was a glut of Stephen King movies, with a new one seemingly released every weekend. Then I discovered John Carpenter and the love affair grew from there. It's fair to say that I can happily watch any kind of horror, whether it's a gore fest or a creepy psychological thriller or just outright torture porn. Many horror films fall into the so bad it's good category, but it's rare to find a horror film that's not only an incredible film, but also original and inventive. That's what's got me so excited about Late Night with the Devil. I've watched an absolute stack of horror films over the years, and I don't think I've seen anything like this before. Sure, the whole found footage thing is nothing new, but this movie puts a fresh spin on the frequently used horror trope. Although I wouldn't say it's scary as such, this movie does build tension, and there are some parts of the film which are outright hilarious. This isn't an easy talent to master, mixing edge-of-your-seat horror with laugh-out-loud comedy. There's only been a handful of films that have managed to get this right. I usually cram my reviews with spoilers, but I'll try not to as this film is that good. If you haven't seen it, you must check out Late Night with the Devil, even if you're not into horror. It's also nice to watch a film with a fresh take on demonic possession. For me, there are too many of these films, and they all have names like The Exorcism of Russell Crowe's wife's best friend's left testicle. It's almost as if these filmmakers have got a competition going to see how many words they can cram into the title. The film is a refreshing breath of fresh air. The movie is told in its entirety through the medium of found footage. A videotape has been unearthed, which contains the last and final episode of a 1970s late-night talk show called Night Owls. The show's host, Jack Delroy, has undergone a number of tragedies. His wife has died and now his late-night talk show is on the verge of being cancelled. Desperate for a ratings bump, Delroy decides to do a Fright Night Halloween special. Among the guests are a psychic and a cynic who specialises in exposing hoaxers and supernatural charlatans. Then the final guests are a parapsychologist and a 13-year-old girl in her care named Lily. Lily is the sole survivor of a massacre at a cult house, and apparently she has been demonically possessed. Jack seemingly has a plan for Lily, and this is teased throughout the whole movie. The look and feel of this movie is incredible. The set decorators really earned their money. The costumes, the colours, there's lots of mauve, burgundy, pastels and patterns. The film is grainy. They really captured the feel of a 1970s talk show. It actually feels like you've gone into a time warp and are sitting alongside the Night Owls audience. The cast is great too. David Dasmalchian excels as the troubled talk show host. He's smiley and charismatic as you'd expect, but he also oozes desperate fame-hungry celebrity. You get the feeling there is something off about him. When he expresses concerns about his guests, is that legit? Is he a nice guy, or is this just an act? We ask similar questions about Christo the clairvoyant. Is he a charlatan, or is he genuine? I don't know, but he was hilarious. I love the fact that so much of this movie is deliberately ambiguous, and we are left to come to our own conclusions. I also loved Carmichael's character, who spends the whole show striving to disprove everything he sees. I was intrigued and interested by the arguments and nuggets of logic he uses to debunk the claims of the other guests. Upon researching the film, I actually discovered he was based on a real person. The rows between Carmichael and the other guests are very entertaining. I especially loved the part where he hypnotises Jack's long-suffering sidekick Gus, who is the butt of all jokes. I don't want to give too much away, but I thought this scene was very clever. Laura Gordon's parapsychologist was also an interesting character, often treading a fine line between not wanting to exploit the young, vulnerable girl in her care and also desperate to sell copies of her book. Although all the acting performances are great, the absolute star of the movie is Ingrid Torelli, who performs the role of the socially awkward and incredibly creepy Lily brilliantly. Is she possessed? Is she putting it on? She's vacant, often staring at us directly through the TV camera, and her performance only gets better and better as the film builds towards its bloody and nightmarish crescendo. As much as I liked this film, there were some things that didn't quite work for me. I was a little confused by the format at times. It was supposed to be found footage, but there were a few parts where I couldn't work out who was doing the filming. The camera was even rolling when there were hushed and confidential conversations going on between Delroy and his producer. For example, a guest dies off-screen, but they don't want anyone to know. However, neither man seems worried about the cameraman standing there and filming them as this conversation takes place. This kind of thing happens a couple of times during the course of the film. I also didn't like the 5-minute dialogue at the beginning. It gave away every minute detail about Jack Delroy's past and the events that led to the ill-fated Night Owl show. I think it went on too long and it gave away too much, namely rumours about Jack's dabbling with the occult. For me, that gave away a huge hint of what was to come at the ending. Also, as much as I liked Dasmachian's performance and I thought he nailed the role, I've seen him in other films, so he was very recognisable to me. This again didn't really fit with the found footage genre. Usually for these types of films we tend to get unknown actors so it's more believable. I wonder if the film may have benefited from having an unknown actor in the role. There are actually 2 demons in this movie. There is Mr. Wiggles, the potty-mouthed demon who may or may not be residing in Lily. The other is the highly publicised use of AI in this movie. I know some people decided to boycott this movie because of this, and I do get the argument. However, after doing some research, it seems the use of AI was very limited. This was restricted to the creation of a trio of still images that were used as title cards sporadically during the course of the movie. For me, this is not enough of a reason to boycott the film. It's not as if the script was completely written by ChatGPT. I certainly don't think something so trivial should tarnish what is a very inventive film and a shining example of the ingenuity human filmmakers can come up with. Unfortunately, I do think AI will end up having more of a role in modern cinema. It's a shame, but it's something we're going to have to either accept or vote with our feet. We got a similar issue when CGI started overtaking practical effects. I'd much rather see the xenomorph in the original Alien than some of the cartoon drawings we got in Alien 3 or Alien Covenant. All in all, Late Night with the Devil is an excellent film. It's a shame it's been categorised as a horror, because that label might turn off some viewers when this film has got so much more going for it. The biggest compliment I can give Late Night with the Devil is that I did not want it to end. It's thoroughly entertaining, and it reminds us there's nothing more dangerous than a desperate, fame-hungry talk show host who will do anything to stay in the limelight.